a brand new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast is about to begin. It's time to be inspired by simple and actionable solutions for you and your business. If you're an established entrepreneur or just laying down the first brick of your future empire, the mantra is the same. We will flip any failure into a positive and use it to our advantage. This show is all about turning coal into diamonds. With the right plan and mindset, anything is possible. I'm Jennifer Dawn, your host, business coach, and founder of Best Planner Ever, and I'm here to help you achieve all your ambitious goals. Success is closer than you think. Let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast. I'm Jennifer Dawn, your host, and I got to tell you guys, I was talking to Drewbie. This is my guest today, and I was talking to him before the show, and I'm so excited because he's got so many things that I can't wait to just jump in and talk about. And so I know that you're going to absolutely love our show today. Drewbie Wilson is a loving husband and father who pushes himself to live in excellence so he can set an example for those around him. At one point in his life, he weighed over 300 pounds before getting focused on his health and losing more than 100 pounds, you guys, 100 pounds without fad diets or weight loss drugs. From tech support in a software startup to C-suite of a multi-million-dollar consulting company, he understands what it means to start at the bottom and work his way to the top. So welcome, Drewbie, to the show.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me on. Thank you to the listener for being here with us today. You're going to hear me say this a lot, but time is your most valuable asset. And for you to spend a little bit with us today, Jennifer, for you to give me a chance to be here means the world. So I'm very excited.
Me too. Now, tell everybody just a little bit about, it's fun to read the bio, but tell us a little bit about your story. How did you really get to where you are today?
Yeah. So I've got 3 books that I've written that you can go through all of that. But the too long didn't read version is this. I grew up, my mom was a single mom. My dad was in and out. I grew up in kind of a rough upbringing. I ended up growing up in the streets. So I sold a whole lot of things we weren't supposed to be selling in those days. And at one point realized I didn't want to end up dead or in prison. I had started dating a wonderful woman who's now my wife. We got pregnant and I have my now 8-year-old son. And along this journey, I had a lot of experiences that I had to go through personally that also led into helping me understand professionally what it was going to take to create my version of success. And one thing that I say is really important for anyone to understand, success is a perspective. My version is going to be different than your version, Jennifer, and our version is wildly different than the version our parents had for us of what successful meant. And so I just hope that the listener really understands that on your journey, I'm just here to help people get dialed in and figure out what that looks like so that you can build those systems and processes to have a sustainably successful life. Because one thing I've gone through personally, and we'll talk about this with the weight loss journey specifically, is you can do anything for a short amount of time. But can you do it consistently over a long time to get the result that you want and then maintain that result? Because we've seen a lot of lottery winners hit the lotto and make a lot of money and end up worse off than they were. So part of what I like to share with people is understanding what is your version and how can we make that sustainable for the long term?
Yeah, agree completely. Now, Drewbie, I can only see you from the shoulders up, but you don't look like you weigh 300 pounds. So I'm guessing that the weight loss journey that you have made that sustainable, long-lasting change. So I know a lot of ears have perked up. So tell us, how did you go from 300 pounds? How did you lose 100 pounds? How did you keep it off? Talk to us about that journey.
Yes. So this is really another one of those things that's important about perspective, because not only have I lost 100 pounds, I've done it twice, Jennifer. I was at one point in my life about 315 pounds when I was 18. I had always been the husky kid growing up. I had to wear, size 32 pants when I was in junior high school or something. So I've always was, and still am personally, internally, a bigger guy. Mm-hmm. And so, I got to 315 pounds. I wasn't sleeping well. I was working third shift. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to cut out all the sugary drinks. I'm going to get my act together. And I lost 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then I got back into doing things that I used to do when I was a kid, running the streets. And I wasn't healthily keeping the weight off. And so when I met my, at the time, girlfriend, now wife, And we started going out for dinners and having a couple extra cocktails and a dessert every single night. And then, and then she got pregnant. We're eating Thanksgiving turkey dinners every night for 3-4 weeks straight because pregnancy cravings are real and the sympathy weight is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't have the discipline in place at that time. And as a supportive husband, I was like, well, yeah, you want to go eat? Let's go eat. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure I'm providing as a provider. That was my job. Mm-hmm. And so I ballooned back up to probably 285 pounds, I think was my biggest when my son was born. And that's a pretty big realization. Not only was I now a father with someone that I was responsible for, my wife came to me and was like, hey, babe, I love you. Our son's about 6 months old now. I'm not saying I'm in the healthiest shape either, but all this ain't doing it for me.
Yeah.
And it was very gut wrenching. It was kind of like, oh man, well, okay. So I started telling myself, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go walk. I'm just going to start really taking action and do something different because what I'm doing isn't working. And I think that's the big recognition first and foremost for the listener today, especially if what you're doing isn't working, if it's not getting you the result that you want, it is okay to stop and reassess where you are on your journey. That's why we all have an internal GPS. We have this little compass that'll tell us like something's not right. We're not going the way we should be going. And so let's reassess where we're going. And that's what I did. Mm-hmm. I made the decision. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go walk. I'm going to start listening to podcasts like this, books on tape, YouTube Motiversity, like all these things, right? And that's where I really started with crushing the day. That's kind of where this whole mantra came from. It's like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to turn off my phone. I'm not going to look at social media. I'm not going to watch the news and see all the toxicity that exists out there. I'm just going to focus on crushing the day before it crushes me, because it's real easy to let it get away from you. But if I just focus on doing the things that I know I need to do for me, then I'm going to have the life that I want. And that's a long journey of hard workouts and all these different things. But over time, I lost the weight. I felt more confident in myself. It made my relationship at home better. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, it got me into a position to where I was able to create a new version of myself to achieve that next level of success.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about, and I think if I'm clear, your wife says to you, all of this isn't really working for me, honey. And okay, were you like, did the defenses go up? Were you like immediately like, oh, honey, I hear you? Because my defenses would have gone up like, what? Like, well, look at all that. It's easy to be like,
1,000,000%.
Yeah. So talk to me about like, how did you get to a place where you could receive and really hear what your wife was saying? Because I'm sure some of it too was like love, when you're just like, you see your partner not taking good care of themselves. Like, when I see this, I'm just like, oh, honey, like I really love you and I want you to be well for our children, for us, for everything. So I'm sure there was some love in there, of course. But just walk us through like that process of where you immediately got the information, and then how were you able to then really receive it and turn it into something very positive?
Yeah, my immediate defense is right away. Now, I was careful not to react and say things hurtfully because, again, she's a mother and we have there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of hormones that go on in this time, so I was trying to be objective and look at it from all sides. I was like, okay, well, yes, she's not wrong. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make me happy. Right. But sometimes the truth hurts, right? That's how we can get into a productive state of mind, is understanding that if we're not happy, sometimes we need to go be productive to get that result that we're looking for. And so it was tough. Not to say that there wasn't some resentment, some hurt feelings there, but also that motivated me to think, okay, well, what do I need to do differently? Because let's just say on the crazy off chance that I wasn't in this relationship, I'm not in the best shape. It's not like I can go out there and I've got people flocking to me. So there is some truth to that. And so what is the truth there that I need to absorb and look at is it's feedback, not criticism.
Yeah.
I just made a post this morning. I like to share motivational quotes every morning that have impacted me. And it's one of those things like how you receive it is the difference between feedback and criticism. Mm-hmm. And so to her, it was just providing feedback of like, hey, I want to be more loving. I want to be more attracted. And the best way for me to do that is to express to you the truth of how I'm feeling. And that was really important. And again, that's kind of where the whole like going and listening to motivational podcasts and joining entrepreneurial communities and learning, like this is part of the journey when you're starting to go through this level up in life, as some people call it, there are things that happen. And one of my good friends reached out to me at the time and he says, well, listen, I'm telling him the story. He's like, well, here's the deal, man. You're starting to make a little bit of money. You're starting to have some more success. How would it feel if all of a sudden you're up in heaven and you're looking down and some other asshole's in bed with your wife in your home and he's raising your kid with your money because you didn't make the time to go and take care of yourself? Mm-hmm. And like, talk about a 1-2 punch, right? You got your wife on one side and then you got one of your best friends telling you on the other, get your shit together. It's like, well, okay. I guess I got some work to do.
Exactly. You've mentioned truth many times, and I do believe the truth will set you free. Even if it hurts, it will set you free. And my guess is that within yourself, you knew you could be a better version. And so having your friend and your wife notice it too, like sometimes we think we're fooling everybody, but then when they notice it, it's like, wait a second, I know I could be at a better level. And that's the part I think that kind of hurts, of knowing we could do better than we're doing. But I love how you turned it into a positive. You lost the weight. And so, we have things happen and we get motivated and we're like, okay, I'm getting up, I'm walking, I'm doing these things. But you hit on a point earlier about the long term, like how we sustain it over the long term. So what helped you to get past that initial burst of motivation and willpower and to really kind of transform this into long-term permanent change in your life?
So this is kind of where I started developing the 4 6s strategy. And we kind of talked a little bit about this before the show. And this is really my, when you talk to people about success, mm-hmm. to me, in my mind at that time, I was working, I was starting to make more money. It was like she was basically not to the point where she was going to be able to retire at 28 years old and not have to work anymore and stay home and raise our son. And there was all these things that in my mind I was doing that I saw as like, I'm successful. I don't understand why this isn't. And yet I had to realize there was a difference there. And so something that happened during my entrepreneurial journey is I had a woman who reached out to me and I was in a community using a software and having some success with it. And she called me. She's like, well, how much for an hour of your time to show me how to use the platform? And what a humbling question, because at the time I was still working a day job. And I'm like, all right, well, if I work my normal job and I make commission and it's after hours, so I'm going to charge time and a half, because this is the employee mindset that I was in at the time, right? I was still just thinking like that. And like, well, I don't know, give me $50. She's like, well, how about I give you 75? It's like, well, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I take 75? Yeah, that's great. And so it really started me down this path of understanding, like, what is my time worth? Because time is the one resource you can't buy more of. You can't win it in a poker tournament. And as much as we'd love to get a card full of it on our birthday, a lot of times those cards are really, really morbid. And it's like, congratulations, take another one off the list. Like one less bottle of beer on your wall of lives. It's so weird, right? But yeah, the thing is, we all operate as if we have this unlimited amount of it. Oh, I'll get to that later. I'll go and take that trip when, after I make X amount of money, that's when I'll go do the thing that I've been wanting to do my whole life. And it was kind of a weird spiritual, religious, however you want to look at it, realization of, okay, where am I spending my time? What am I doing with it? What's important to me in my journey? Mm-hmm. And so the 4 6s comes back to, let's look at if there's 24 hours in a day. And we know that we can all kind of agree at this point, this is kind of how we structure our day, right? We could get into the woo-woo, but we won't for the sake of time. Yeah. 24 hours in a day, there's 4 things to me in life that are really, really important. Number 1 is sleep. Mm-hmm. You can't operate without it. And if you've ever been on a bender and you've gone 48 or 72 hours and you stayed up, you don't do good. You don't look good. You don't sound good. Like, it's just not going to work. Yeah. Okay. So we all agree sleep is very important, especially you ladies. You have to have your beauty sleep. Mm-hmm. So we'll put that at the top of the list. And then for most of us, especially the entrepreneurs, and I know most of you that are here with us today are going to be an entrepreneur or someone going down that path in life, you put your family first. Mm-hmm. And if it's not your family because you hate your family, maybe it's the relationships, it's the people you care about, the legacy, right? That's a lot of what I hear, the why in entrepreneurs. And that's great. I love that. I have an 8-year-old son and a wife. I understand legacy to the fullest. Then we have our business, because none of us have FU money yet, right? We all have to work. We all have things that we have to go and do. So we can all agree that we have business that has to get done every day. And then weirdly enough, we put ourselves last, mm-hmm. which is why so many people end up burnout. out of shape, just not happy in general, is because we run around with this mentality that we're putting everybody else and making them the priority. But if you've ever gone on an airplane, the first thing they tell you is, in case of emergency, put your own oxygen mask on first, or else you become a burden to everyone around you. And so how funny that we put ourselves last, and yet a lot of entrepreneurs run around talking about how they're putting that, everything is so important and these people are the most important things in their lives and they give everything to them, but they don't give everything. They give a portion of what they're capable of because you're not putting yourself first as a priority to make sure you're operating at peak performance. And what I see a lot of times is that if you're not operating at peak performance, instead of calling yourself out, you like to spot other people's weaknesses and call that out because you don't want to accept that you're the one responsible for your own success. So the 4 6s is, if you want to live a, quote, balanced life, and there's 4 areas that are important and 24 hours in a day, imagine spending 6 hours in each of those areas with intention. Because if you've ever done something for 6 hours straight that you really enjoyed, talked to somebody you love, gone on a vacation, worked on a project that you're just really excited about, that time flies by like this. And you can get a ton of things done. So what if you live every day like that?
I love it. You're talking my language, especially when you talk about things like taking ownership, not blaming everybody else for where you're at in your life. But I got to tell you, Drewbie, I need more than 6 hours of sleep. So I'm going to have to bump that chunk up because I like my 8 hours. So I'm going to need to put a little bit more into that chunk. But I love how, though, it really comes back to priorities. I live in New York, but I was just last weekend, I just got back from a mastermind that I went to in Dallas, and priorities was one of the topics that we were talking about. And I actually just put out a blog and a bunch of stuff about it because it really, really resonated with me of your priority. And sometimes I think our priorities are actually what's holding us back because we've prioritized the wrong things. And the way I was thinking about it was just like, all right, so have I prioritized making excuses or doing the work, right? And you talked about weight loss. It's like we can spend a whole lot of time making a lot of excuses and reasons and justifications and all this stuff of why, I can't lose the weight or I'm not healthy or fit, instead of just like prioritizing doing the work, going for the walk. Like that's what's going to get the result. And I see this a lot, obviously, as a business coach, and I'm sure you do too, where it's just like, hey, what have you really prioritized here? Making yourself feel better, blaming somebody else. Cash flow, that's another thing we love to complain about as business owners. And it's just like, well, why don't I have the money? Why don't I have the sales? And here's all the reasons and people and things of why I don't have these revenues. And that's become the priority instead of, oh, I didn't even plan it this way, Drewbie, but it's a perfect lead in for call the damn leads, right? Because if you don't prioritize the right things, your quote priorities are actually going to be what's holding you back. So for those of you not on video, you can't see Drewbie is wearing a hat that says call the damn leads. And so, right, let's just jump into that right now because, right, when we talk about our priorities, we have to make the right priorities so that we get the result that we're really after. So talk to me a little bit about call the damn leads.
Yes. And I'm going to do that. Before I do, I want to give the listener something tactical that they can use. And if this is the one thing you take away from the whole episode, I think it's going to change your life. So if you really want to understand priorities and time management and what you're doing, go and do a time study, do an audit. Every hour on the hour for the next 2 weeks, at the top of the hour, write down all the things that you did during that hour and how long you spent doing them. You went to the bathroom, you washed your hair, you scrolled Instagram, you made sales calls, you sent emails, you did paperwork, all the things, and be very, very serious about it. I promise you by day 3, you're going to realize where all of your time is at. And you're going to know what you're prioritizing that's probably not a priority. And then you get to start making better decisions about what's important to you. Because if you want to watch Netflix, by all means, watch Netflix. Understand that you're sacrificing something somewhere else in order to make that your priority. And then in certain instances, taking the time to disconnect from your business, from your relationships, like you need that you time. So I'm here for it. Again, how much of that time are you actually spending there? That's what you have to understand. So that's the tactical, because part of that time audit, especially for entrepreneurs and business owners, as a coach, you're going to know this. How much time are you spending prospecting? How much time are you spending building relationships? How much time are you working through your database and calling the leads in your CRM and actually planting those seeds? Because as wonderful of a business, product, service you may offer, I promise you, people don't care. They don't care how much you know and how great you are until they know how much you care about them and the problems that they're facing. Because if you can't solve their problem, they really don't have any need to build a relationship with you. So what are you doing to educate and entertain people? And how are you making sure that you stay top of mind, especially in a market where social media, the news, advertising is at an all-time high? We are constantly distracted by a buzz, an app, a ding, a this, a that, a billboard. What are you doing to stand out? How much time are you spending calling the damn leads and actually having a real conversation? Because call the damn leads is literally just a mantra for doing the work. It's just like crushing the day. It's a mantra for doing the work. That is the one true secret to getting a result and success. Go do the work.
Yeah.
It's not always going to get you the result that you want. That's why sometimes you have to step back and learn and do these lessons and understand that nothing is perfect at first. Yeah. But it's doing the work and taking action that will get you to the ultimate result. And really what you'll start to learn along the way is that when you get there, you're just going to look back and say, okay, well, we're here now. What's the next goal? Where do we keep moving the goalposts? So I'm going to pause for a second because I get excited and passionate about this stuff.
No, but it's so true. And you're so right on point. For those of you who are listening, if you use my planner, Best Planner Ever, kind of like the idea of call the damn leads, but Best Planner Ever, I created that many years ago. And I know a lot of you who are listening use the planner, and it's the same concept. And if you've gone through the free course that comes with the planner, the time audit is part of that course. And it is something I did for myself and still continue to do for myself. It's not like you do it once and then you're done. As you start to scale up in business, you'll have to come back and revisit really where your time is going. But it's shocking to me of just like when people do this audit. I actually had one woman who went through it. She was struggling with her goals. And so we did the time audit and it came back and she spent 8 hours a day on TV. And I was like, I'm like, maybe if I've got a cold and I'm on the couch and I'm just watching TV all day because I'm sick, okay. But to have a day, a typical day where you're watching TV for 8 hours, it's like, well, no wonder you're not getting any of the stuff done that you want to get done because you're on the TV all day. And so again, it's about that awareness, because I believe once you see it and go, oh crap, look at where all my time is actually going and getting wasted. Now you can own it. Now you can change it. And that's really the key, is just like, I'm the one watching 8 hours TV. I'm not, but she was. And it's just like, until you own that and you really want to change it, it's not going to happen. But it really is so important to just do that audit. I just want to back that up with what you said. It's so important to have that information. I even flipped it and said, all right, so let's say that I want to work a 30-hour week, a work week. And I mapped out where those 30 hours would go so that I could be very, very strategic with my time and then start to figure out where I'm getting on and off track for the work week that I want to have. And that was pretty eye-opening as well, too, because it really helped to filter out any of the stuff that I'm doing. Or if I think email takes me an hour a day and, oh, it's actually taking me 3, then I could start to be like, all right, what do I need to do now to get my email, down to 1 hour a day instead of 3? So all of these are just great tools. So I just want to say thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it, because it sounds like you and I are on the same page here.
I have a mentor that used this quote often, and I like to share it with everyone because it wasn't my quote, so I'll give it away freely. But methods are many, principles are few. Methods may vary, but principles never do. Right? There's a million ways to make $1 million, but there's still going to be some basics and some foundational stuff that you're going to have to do to make it happen. And that's the one thing that I've learned about life, is that we overcomplicate everything. That's the other thing that same mentor would say, hey, you overcomplicate everything, man. Like, it's not necessary. Go back to the basics. What do you want? And then reverse engineer. Step 1 is this. Step 2, it's like microwave directions. You ever read a microwave meal? It's why they make it so simple. Take it out of the box, cut a hole in the plastic, microwave on high, 2 minutes. Like, you have to, and this is the same thing in your business. Yeah. What are the SOPs that you're creating? What are the things that you're creating to give to someone else to buy your time back so that you can focus on living a life by design? Because that's the other thing that I've done, like I don't know if you've ever had your clients go through this, but I'll share it with you too, is what does your perfect day look like? Mm-hmm. If you woke up today and every day from here on forward, you live just an absolutely happy, productive day, and you went to bed knowing, hey, I crushed the day before it crushed me, and it was an amazing day, what would that look like? And not like a fake, oh, I won the lottery and all these things. No, but like you woke up every day and you just got to live an awesome life. What would it do? Where would you spend it? Who would be around? What would you spend your time doing? Because I promise you, you can reverse engineer all of that. And once it's written down, and you may not be spiritual, but it's like, write it down and make it plain. It will happen for you because it's the intentionality. And again, going back to the time audit and deciding, hey, I want to work 30 hours a week. Great. What days of the week do you want to work? And what hours do you want to work during those days? And what do you want to do during that time? And how much do you need to make as an income so that you can go and have the rest of that? Like this all can be engineered. And that's the beautiful thing about life is whatever you want it to be, it can be if you're willing to do the work and call the damn leads.
Yeah, absolutely. So beautiful. And I love the way you tied happy productive in. Very good. Because that is really what happy productive is all about. And we can engineer our day. We absolutely can. I found that another thing I had done was Monday mornings, because as entrepreneurs, you guys may relate to this. Like sometimes it takes me a little time over the weekend to kind of wind down because I'm on that like go, go, go for the week. And so I find that Friday afternoons, I'm usually a little shot because it's just like, boy, it's been a long week. And I'm not at my best on a Friday afternoon. And then go into the weekend, I relax. And then Monday morning, I'm not always like quite ready to like jump back in again. And so I set up my schedule for this. So I literally just took my schedule off Friday afternoons and Monday mornings. And I work half days on those days. And it sets me up for a much more productive day, a much more productive week. And so I mean it, you guys, like you have the power to, especially as entrepreneurs, to change your schedule, to take these steps, to do an audit, to be very clear and specific in your time, and to call the damn leads. Like stop complaining that you don't have the revenues. You got to call the leads, and you got to call people who owe you money too. I'll throw that one in there. It's like if they owe you money, call them. Do your cash flow collection calls.
Come on. Preach, Jennifer, preach. Tell them, hey, those clients, you know what? That's a big, and that's a whole nother, again, I bet we could go on for hours and hours, and I know we're limited on time, but hey, if you are struggling in your business and you're afraid to call the damn leads for whatever reason, you're having a little call reluctance, go call your current clients. Ask them how they're doing. Check in on them. You don't know how many, depending on what your product or service is, they may be in a position where they need your product or service again, and they've just been waiting to hear from you so they can give you their money. Yeah. I can't tell you how many clients I've talked to where I'm like, hey, when's the last time you called your current client database? And they're like, I don't know. Like, all right, cool. Revenue, you need cash flow. Let's call them first. Yeah. If they don't want to buy something, ask them who they know that's dealing with the same problem they had and they want it fixed, because you'd be happy to help them and give them a little something as a bonus.
Amen.
All of a sudden you got leads, you got opportunity, you got referrals. And guess what? Referrals close like 87% of the time compared to cold calls, which is why you don't want to go do it, because you're facing the rejection all day and no one's going to be happy being rejected all day. I promise you, it's not a productive way to spend your day.
No.
But if you're not getting anything else, you got to go do it. You got to call them. So right. Sorry, I get super excited about this stuff. This is my lifeblood.
I do. It's so important. And we talked about priorities, and I found, this is a hard question I had to ask myself. Am I prioritizing the shitty client who doesn't pay, who always has all these problems, and I'm putting out their fires all day? Or am I prioritizing the client who never complains and pays in full? And that was another shift in priorities. And so I really want all of you guys to really think about when you do that time audit and look at where your time's going, and you're serving your clients, like, is your best time in the most time going to your most profitable and best clients? And if not, it might be time to fire a couple of folks and make an opening for a better client to come in there.
Yeah, that's a scary thing for entrepreneurs, especially small business owners. They don't want to fire a client. But I always look at it as when you fire a bad client, two more good ones always find their way.
They always
do. It's just
do.
like a recipe for life. You get rid of I forget what the exact stat is, but it's like the bottom 20% of your clients take 80% of your time.
That's right.
Or something like that. We could mix it up, but like that's essentially what it breaks down to. So
yeah.
Great point, Jennifer.
It can be scary, but then once you do it and then you're like, oh my gosh, look at these great new clients and I'm so much happier. Then I'm just like, we literally have an immutable law on our website that says no jerks allowed. And we mean it because it just takes the one rotten apple can ruin the whole barrel. And just, it's too important to be in a good place than to deal with some of these folks. So
true that.
Drewbie, this has been a great conversation. I love it. So many great things. I know we've motivated a lot of people to get out there, set your priorities, call the damn leads, crush the day. So fantastic. Tell everybody a little bit about your books and where they can find you if they want to learn more.
Yeah, thank you so much. First and foremost, again, it is all about you, the listener today. You took some time to be here to learn something, and I just want you to have taken something of value today. So I really hope you did. And if so, and you want to know more about me, I've written a couple of books. I have Crushing the Day, Social Media Mastery, Call the Damn Leads. It's all about sales, marketing, networking, mindset, all the things that took me from growing up in an impoverished single mother household with 3 brothers to barely graduating all the way to where I make multiple 6 figures a year. My family and I literally walked away from a $500,000 a year salary to build our own business, living in a 42-foot fifth wheel camper. Everything we do is by the power of making decisions to live the life that we want, to spend our time the way we want to spend it, knowing there's going to be a lot of work to do to make it a reality. But the truth is, it can be a reality if you're willing to do the work. And so if you want to know more about how I've been able to do it by calling the damn leads, sales has been my lifeblood, my whole career, everything from the little guy now, callthedamnleads.com. You can buy 1 book. You can buy all 3. Check it out. Grab some swag, grab a t-shirt, whatever it is. Get yourself motivated to go call the leads, do the work, and remember that whatever life you want can be built, but make sure the way you build it is sustainable, because I want you to have it for a long time, not just a little while.
Yeah, so great. Drewbie, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I got to go call some leads. That's it. That's just my takeaway from today. I got to go call some leads. You guys, thank you so much for being here. I know this is a super great episode. So many amazing takeaways. We will obviously put links to all of Drewbie's books and information in the show notes. So please go grab some of those books and check him out. That's it for us today. Thank you, everybody. Get out there and have a happy, productive day, y'all. Bye. I hope you found today's episode of the Happy Productive Podcast inspiring. Every successful business is formed by a set of small, consistent, and attainable steps. If you want to learn more, come visit us at jenniferdawncoaching.com to take your next step and learn how to meet your business goals. On our website, you're going to find free resources along with links to the life-changing coaching programs that have transformed the lives of so many of our clients, including the Coaching Academy and our Unbreakable retreats. Many of them started their journey by listening to this podcast. That's it. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.